A Black executive perspective now presents Need to Know with the award-winning hyphenated Dr. Nsenga Burton. Dr. Burton, what do we need to know?
Good morning and welcome to Need to Know with Dr. Nsenga Burton. I am she. And today I'm going to be talking about DEI. That is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which has now become a bad word, or as Keith Boykin would say, a coded word, or Charles Blow, a dog whistle for the N word, right? So I just want to first of all, diversity, equity, inclusion was not created to give Black people a leg up. Diversity, equity, inclusion covers many different categories. All right, that includes race, gender, sexual identity, status as a veteran, disability, ability, invisible disabilities, which is a big issue in our world. People who have chronic illnesses that you can't see, but have to suffer through them to get their jobs done every day. Right. So there are a lot of categories that are covered by that term DEI. There's a lot of policy and legislation that comes out of it as well. So, for example, the fact that you might have a wheelchair entrance or exit, the fact that you might have elevators in your building, in your place of work, that is part of DEI, right? The fact that you might have safe spaces if you're neurodivergent and you need quiet spaces. That would fall under DEI. In no way, shape, or form does DEI mean that you are unqualified or underqualified for the role. In fact, most people who fall under that category have been historically disenfranchised, which is why the category exists. And what it means is that you should be given an opportunity to apply for a role in the interest of equity. That means everyone having access to these jobs. Now, we know there's the Good Old Boys Network. We've heard that. We know about nepotism, hiring your family. We know this easy. Like we do this, everybody does it, right? You're like, oh my God, this job had opened up. I worked with this other person at this other job. And so let me call Tony because I worked with him at this other place and he was great. And this is the exact job that he was doing there. So why should I go out and look for somebody else when I already know Tony? Well, in the interest of diversity, you should always look for the best person for the job. Tony might be a good fit, but there might be somebody better in the job pool, right? But if you keep calling Tony and all the other people, and we've seen this, right? People who go from company to company, right? They go from company to company and the same 5, 6, 7 people show up. They work for each other till they retire, right? But in the interest of diversity, and there's different types of diversity. There's intellectual diversity. I mean, our Supreme Court is a problem now because all of them not all of them, but most of them went to Yale for law school. So how do you have any judicial diversity when they've all been trained the same way? All right. There's different types of diversity. And the reason that you have it is because you have better outcomes. You make more money with diversity. You have more or less toxic work environments when you have diverse staff and employees. You have greater reach. You have the opportunity to expand into more markets. I mean, there's just a lot of benefits to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it benefits everybody, including the company. And let me just work with you on this one too. So when we say diversity, equity, and inclusion, people are saying it's about giving unqualified Black people jobs because they are hoping and resting on the fact that your racism and your stereotyping of Black people will kick in. And unfortunately, it has. All right. So as I've said in previous videos, people who look like me often are overqualified. The most educated group in the country is Black women. Like hands down. The least educated group, white men. Guess who's part of the diversity equity initiatives at the schools I worked? I'll wait. White men. Because God forbid we don't have enough representation of white men in these institutions of higher learning. Woo, God forbid. We got to go get them. In fact, I heard the admissions counselor one time say, women are a dime a dozen. We don't need any more women. We need some white men. Did I go file a lawsuit? No, because it's not my damn business. A. B, I don't have a problem with qualified white men doing their jobs. I don't care. and see if it's in the best interest of diversity and having representation that is reflective of society and will add value in multiple different ways, then why not? But I'm also not a racist. I don't hate white men. I don't think they're just woefully inadequate or unqualified, despite who's in the White House and all the people that they're elevating to the White House. That's not my stereotype of white men. That's not based on any experience I've had with white men, including those in my family. I don't know those white men. I know hardworking, qualified, educated, thoughtful, talented white men. That's not to say that the others don't exist, because I've worked with them too. Mediocre white men. I've worked with more of them than the ones in my family. But it's okay. It's not my business. A mentor, who's actually a cousin, Ancestry 1, 2, 3, or 23, whatever the heck it's called, once told me it's not how you get to the party, it's as long as you can dance and keep the beat when you get there. So what she was telling me when I was young and in college, don't worry about what other people are doing. Mind your business. It's not how they got here. Be glad that you are here and do the best and be the best that you can. All right. So I just want to disabuse you of this notion that anybody who has been part of a DEI program is somehow unqualified because of the color of their skin. Black people are not the greatest benefactors of the DEI programs. It is actually white women. When you think about social programs, it is not us. We're not enough for other population. 12%, 13%, depending on which sources you want to reference. But let's say 12%, 13% of the population. There's not enough of us to be the majority of anything in this country. So when we are the majority of something, we're not even the most in jail. But then when we are the majority of something, what they're really talking about is proportion. They're not talking about population. But again, you have to be educated to understand the difference and the nuance. And people who are in power and want to remain in power will always bet on the fact that you will not read for comprehension, that you will not do your own research, that you will not take a class, even at the community college, which has fantastic teachers, professors, students. The most interesting students I've ever met are community colleges. So we're done with the dog whistles. We're done with the code words and all of that. And we're done with being abused. And this is me. I'm speaking on behalf of Black people. I know it's a lot of us. It's a lot of us. Women, Black women. We're done being abused by you all. I was saying in an earlier podcast, I was valedictorian. I went to governor school. I'm an Ivy Leaguer. All the things. And I have people still to this day tell me I only got the job because I'm Black. And my credentials are impeccable. And I'm not just talking about education. I'm talking about the jobs I've had, the measurable outcomes, the money I've raised, the projects I've worked on, all the awards, all the things. All right. And people still believe that. But I can't worry about what they believe. I know the truth. People who know me and work with me know the truth. And so that's all I can worry about. But this idea that Black people are somehow the only people in the DEI category is false. This idea that people who are in the DEI category are somehow all unqualified and somebody is giving them something is false. As my Black father said, nobody white ever gave him anything. He grew up in segregated Virginia. And when I tried to believe in Santa, he wouldn't let us because what? Nobody white ever gave you anything. Nobody. We have to work for everything we have and continue to do so, including our civil rights, which are now being stripped and got rid of the whole division. And so you over here screaming DEI, DEI, while all the things, the protections that we worked hard for to get into place so that everybody can benefit. Black people weren't just working for us, working for everybody. All the stuff that you enjoy, all the freedoms that you enjoy, Black people. You can blame us for that, but you won't give us credit for that. You won't give us credit for that. We didn't say, oh, we only want civil rights for Black people. No, we want civil rights for all people. We didn't say we wanted equity and access for some people, just for us, just for the Blacks. Forget everybody else. We said we wanted it for everybody. We didn't say we wanted pipeline programs for just qualified Blacks. We wanted it for everybody. We didn't say we wanted affirmative action programs for just qualified Blacks. We wanted it for everybody. And that's what you see when you look at the data. What's happening now? The numbers have dropped for everybody. And these folks still suing a certain group. I don't want to get into any drama. Still suing talking about we're being discriminated against. Well, we told you that. When we were fighting for affirmative action, we were fighting for DEI policies and all that. We told you were being discriminated against. But you thought because you relied on your racism and your anti-Black racism that you had earned your way in and that you had done something different or special other than be great. We are great. You are great. You just need to be given the opportunity to participate in all aspects of society, and that includes its institutions, which was not a given before these policies were in place. And let's keep it real. As we talked about in the earlier podcast, it's still not a given. You may get an interview to be passed over. You can be the most qualified person in the room and still be the least empowered. That's just how life works. It's life. When you are a person who's historically disenfranchised, that's how our understanding of life is not fair. When you are an empowered oligarch who hasn't worked for anything and has been given everything and bullies and has bought their way through life and society, you believe that you should have everything you want. It's just a different mindset. So I encourage you. This is what I need you to know. I need you to know that it is okay to read for comprehension and to actually figure out what DEI is. Do the research. Figure out what falls under those categories. I mean, it's so sad to see all these veterans on social media talking about they've lost their jobs, they don't have this, they're federal employees, they're not getting paid, they don't know if they're going to have a job. All these things because they had no idea that they fell under the DEI category. Now, I don't know how, because on every job application, you can see the DEI classifications. Veteran has always been in there, right? So the fact that you have some people, and not everyone, of course, but enough people where it's all over social media who did not know that and thought they were just voting against Black people. And I guess they forget that they got Black veterans too. It's sad. It's really pathetic. All right, in a very specific sort of way. So, you can vote any kind of way you want. You can do what you want to do, but at least know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And certainly don't be anti-DEI because you have allowed and you have bought into the lowest form of humanity, which is racism. Because you believe in all that anti-Black racism that you've been taught your whole life. That you really believe that Black people are the only people, unqualified Black people were the only people who were benefiting from DEI. Actually, it's qualified Black people, and we were no way, shape, or form the majority of people. That's why we have our own businesses. We're also the most entrepreneurial out of everybody here. We have to have our own businesses in order to make the kind of money that we want and to live the lives that we want, that you get to have at companies and corporations. We have to make that for ourselves, if we're lucky. All right. So until next week, please join us on the award-winning A Black Executive Perspective podcast. And I'll see you then. Bye.
A Black Executive Perspective.